Alright, finally, a video that you guys have been asking me to do for quite some time, almonds in fragrances. These are the Almondy's fragrances that I have in my collection. They feature almonds as a prominent note. Some of these, or most of these, do go gourmand. Not all of them though, and I'll let you know about them. A lot of these are unisex, maybe a few feminine targeted and a few male targeted, but they're all fairly unisex fragrances. But if you like the idea of almonds in fragrances, then stick around to find out what these fragrances smell like. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian, and yes, today we're talking about almonds in fragrances. In fact, I'm going to be doing fragrances in the future covering notes that I have not spoken a lot about on this channel. So stick around for new content with videos about notes that I haven't discussed yet. So I want to try and cover as many notes that are out there that people enjoy, and almonds are obviously some notes that I do enjoy. I've been digging them more and more, and I have plenty of fragrances in the collection featuring this note, so that's why I'm putting it together. And not only because of that, but you guys have been asking for it. Either way, I'll let you know what these fragrances are featuring almonds. Before I do though, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. And I've got giveaways planned in the future. Stick around, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed publicly so that when you participate in the giveaways, I'll be able to make sure to qualify you. Alright, do you enjoy almonds and fragrances? Let me know, put a comment down so I can find out. Also, let me know what your favorite almond fragrances are. I would love to know if I'm missing any. But let's go ahead and get started with this particular fragrance. But before I get to the fragrance, I do want to let you know, recently I did a video for most comforting budget fragrances, a video, and then there are a few fragrances from that video that I've carried over to here. But if you like the idea of that particular theme, go catch that video as well, as some of them do feature almonds. But this particular fragrance, the first one, is from the house of LAURENCE DUMONT. This is Tendre Madeleine. This is a fragrance that I first discovered way back in 2013. This is a great gourmand fragrance. It's vanillic, it's also almondy, but definitely goes powdery and it's sweet, and it features notes of vanilla, almonds, cinnamon, bergamot, musk. It's that kind of fragrance that reminds you of Madeleines. There was a big trend of Madeleines here for a while. They used to sell them in cafes, and anytime I'd go buy coffee, I'd have a Madeleine with it as well. Just a yummy, yummy dessert. And when you opened up the little plastic packaging, you can smell that yummy smell, you know, that kind of vanillic, doughy kind of almondy smell, and it's definitely captured here. So this is LAURENCE DUMONT Tendre Madeleine. One thing I do want to say is it does remind me of Lyra from the house of XERJOFF, CASAMORATI, but the Lyra has an orangey presence, whereas that does not. And speaking of XERJOFF, first of two XERJOFF fragrances, this is STARLIGHT from the house of XERJOFF. Yummy fragrance, all about almonds, and this is a warm, nutty, amber, spicy fragrance. Definitely spicy, lots of spices here, and the cardamom spice is prominent. But this features bergamot, cardamom, almonds, cinnamon, amber, cedarwood. There's also a caramelly touch in this particular fragrance, so when you're experiencing it, there's that sweet, gooey, little sticky caramelly touch, but lots of almonds here and lots of cardamom, so the combination of cardamom and almonds works really beautifully together, as this is a kind of a dessert, kind of a treat where you would include almonds with a cardamom spice to give it that kind of spicy edge to some kind of an almondy pastry kind of a thing. So this is XERJOFF STARLIGHT. This is not a ranked video. And then one other XERJOFF fragrance, this is CASAMORATI ITALICA. This is actually a much more dessert-like experience than the STARLIGHT. This is full-on gourmand, and it's a little milky as well, lactonic and nutty at the same time. But it features saffron, almonds, milky notes, bourbon vanilla, toffee, sandalwood, white musks. Just a very, very delicious, gooey experience, lactonic touches. But to me, this is more of a creamy, milky touch rather than liquidy milk, kind of thinner. So you do experience the creaminess here, and I think it's the combination of the notes together to give you this kind of like a creamy, lactonic, milky experience with the vanilla and then of course the almonds and the toffee. Delicious fragrance, CASAMORATI ITALICA from the house of XERJOFF. Next fragrance is the first male fragrance. The previous fragrances were unisex. This is from the house of PARFUMS de Marly, PEGASUS. Are you a fan of PEGASUS? So this to me sort of is like a bitter, almondy, nutty, fougere-like experience. Definitely very powdery, and it's got that kind of experience. It's masculine leaning, and I think the lavender in here, which kind of adds the fougere-like experience, takes it into a more masculine direction. But I think this one can be pulled off by women, totally can. But it has vanilla, bitter almonds, sandalwood, heliotrope, lavender, jasmine, and amber. Heliotrope is a flower, a purple flower, and it has almondy presence, like it has an almondy smell. And here they've got the bitter almonds and the heliotrope as well, so it kind of complements the fragrance and gives you kind of like a double dosage of kind of an almondy experience, but it's very powdery. So Pegasus from the house of Parfums de Marly is a great almondy fragrance. Moving on to the house of Van Cleef & Arpels, this is Bois d'Almond, this one right here. So this to me is not a full-on gourmand experience because it has a lot of woods in there, so it tries to get to become a gourmand, but to me the woodsiness kind of wins out. But in the end, it's vanillic, it's nutty, it's woody and powdery. It's featuring almonds, vanilla, cedar, musk, and lemons. So it's almonds and vanilla with lots of cedar, so the cedar is prominent, competes with the vanilla and almonds. And to me, I love gourmands and I know gourmands, and this particular fragrance I wanted it to be a little more gourmand. It just doesn't get there, but it does have a major nutty presence. It's definitely almondy and vanillic as well. Plus it has that musk and a little bit of a citrusy touch with the lemon. So Bois d'Almond from the house of Van Cleef & Arpels is definitely one for you to try. And this particular fragrance was also carried over from that most comforting budget fragrances video from a week or so ago. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. This is from the house of LT PIVER. This is Heliotrope Blanc, a very inexpensive fragrance that you can buy. And I mentioned in that video, I brought this one back from France, and it's a spray bottle. The ones I see online are splash bottles, although somebody commented and said occasionally they'll have the sprays and it gets sold pretty fast. So I prefer to spray, and I really like this one because it's very cozy and nutty. Lots of almonds here. It's almondy, vanillic, sweet, powdery with heliotrope, almonds, vanilla, ylang-ylang, and jasmine. So it's very floral experience, but again, it's heliotrope. Heliotrope smells like almonds to me. Kind of an almond flower kind of a thing, you know? If you like that idea, check this one out. It does have the jasmine and ylang-ylang as well, but of course vanilla, almonds, heliotrope together with those flowers, quite delicious and cozy. So check that out, Heliotrope Blanc from the house of LT PIVER. Alright, next we're going to an Egyptian house that I profiled about 4 months ago, and I did a profile of 4 of their fragrances, and I really enjoyed a lot of their fragrances. This particular fragrance though was the standout fragrance, and I really enjoyed its composition and the nuttiness. It not only features almonds, but it also features hazelnuts for one nutty experience. And it's also created by a favorite perfumer of mine, Chris Maurice, who does fragrances for XERJOFF, and of course Ludo for Sarah Baker Perfumes. I'm talking about the house of Nilafar, Dunil, and this is Niloufer. I don't know if you guys know this particular fragrance or not, but if you are curious to discover this house, go catch my video on Nilafar Dunil. But this is a great nutty fragrance featuring loads of almonds and of course hazelnuts. I would call this a nutty vanillic amber fougere style of fragrance with almonds, hazelnuts, vanilla, heliotrope, lavender, cinnamon, myrrh, and citron. Why an amber fougere? It does have kind of a barbershoppy experience, but more warm and spicy. Amber fougere meaning ambery notes, vanillic notes, and things like that. But this is a nutty fragrance, extremely nutty, not only because of the almonds and the hazelnuts, but you also have that flower heliotrope, which adds and extends the almondy qualities of the almond as a note in here. But it creates for a powdery experience. There's spices here as well, and resins, and some light citrusy touches. But it's a really, really great fragrance at a great price as well. So check it out. If you don't know it, I highly recommend it. I've already featured this fragrance in several videos, including an amber fougere fragrances video. So this is Nilafar Dunil Niloufer as a great, great nutty fragrance. The next fragrance that I'm talking about is masculine targeted. Once again, I think it is definitely unisex to me. This is from the house of Histoires de Parfums. This is 1725 Casanova. So this to me is an amber fougere sort of experience. It's got warm notes along with a kind of like a fougere-like barbershop-y thing happening in the background. So it's spicy, it's powdery, it's aromatic fougere fragrance with lavender, vanilla, almonds, licorice, star anise, amber, sandalwood, grapefruit, and citruses. So this to me reminds me of an Italian cookie. Kind of a crunchy, crisp cookie that crumbles everywhere, you know, I've had Italian cookies where they've sprinkled like aniseeds on top, so you've got that kind of aniseedy flavor, but in the background it's an almond cookie kind of a thing. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Maybe there's a little bit of lavender thrown in as well, because this particular fragrance does have lavender, and that's what it reminds me of, a kind of a yummy cookie, kind of a southern French or Italian where lavender is grown, maybe like Tuscany or something. So those cookies there, yummy experience, very, very delicious with the almondy nuttiness and of course the vanilla touches and the woods and the lavender here. So this is Histoires de Parfums 1725 Casanova. And one more male targeted release, and I think this is the last one. This is from the house of Guerlain. This is L'Homme Ideal Extreme, this one right here. But I would say the entire L'Homme Ideal collection is all about almonds with tonka beans. Some of the fragrances do have tonka and some of them don't. And tonka beans are a note that remind or smell like almonds to me. There's definitely an almondy touch about them, and if you're curious to learn more about tonka beans, you can go catch lots of different videos on tonka beans, and of course I have a very nerdy video with Dana on tonka beans as well. You can go catch that. But this to me is a great, great flanker of the original L'Homme Ideal. Boozy, tobacco-ish, fruity, sweet, nutty tobacco fragrance with almonds, plums, tobacco, leather, pink pepper, patchouli, and I'm getting that booziness from the plums, the fruitiness of the plums in here, and then the tobacco-ish touches in here. It's lightly ashy, a little tobacco leafy, but very, very beautiful fragrance. Absolutely love this one. This flanker is top-notch in comparison to the rest of them, and I used to be a fan of the Eau de Parfum before in this collection. This is an Eau de Parfum, but it's called Extreme, and it's absolutely delicious fragrance. Check it out for that kind of nutty, almondy, tobacco, boozy fragrance experience. So that's L'Homme Ideal Extreme from the house of Guerlain. And speaking of Guerlain, one more fragrance from this house. This is Tonka Imperial, this one right here. Everybody knows this one, right? You know about this one. This to me is a delicious gourmand with tonka beans, but lots of almonds. Major dosage of almonds here. So it's definitely got that nuttiness in here, and it's a sweet, nutty, vanillic amber fragrance with tonka beans, bitter almonds, tobacco, incense, rosemary, jasmine, and pine. So this does have tobacco, and it's a lightly ashy experience, but it's more gourmand to me, and it smells just divine. It's a really, really delicious fragrance. I've grown to love it even more in this particular bottle version than the previous bottle version, and it's starting to smell a little bit like Fève Delicious to me more now than it did before. I don't know if they've done anything with the reformulation when they moved it into these bottles, but it's absolutely delicious. Lots of tonka, lots of almonds, and then of course the incense and the rosemary and the tobacco and the jasmine, all very, very delicious. So Guerlain Tonka Imperial, absolutely one of a kind fragrance. Check that out. And then this next fragrance is a brand new fragrance I recently purchased with my discount code over at So Avant Garde. I have a 20% off discount code that I have in the info box. I wanted to buy this fragrance, and I finally have it because I wanted to feature it in this video. It's Velvet Tonka from the house of BDK. Do you guys know this one? I haven't spoken too much about this particular house. I'll dig in more. I have a video on 3 of their fragrances on the channel. You can go catch that. But this is a sweet, vanillic, nutty amber fragrance with almonds, tonka beans, vanilla, tobacco, orange blossom, rose, and amorous. Sort of kind of in the ballpark of this particular fragrance, Tonka Imperial from Guerlain, but it goes in a different direction. This one gets a little more vanillic, it gets a little more sweet, not as bitter as Tonka Imperial, but there's some citrusy touches in here from the orange blossom, and then there's some florals like rose, and the amorous pops up as well. But quite delicious. There's tobacco in here too, but I don't experience the tobacco as much in here that I do in Tonka Imperial. But then again, both of them are not for me, they're not about the tobacco either way. They're more about the tonka and the almonds together. So Velvet Tonka from BDK, a great smelling fragrance. All right, going to the house of Tiziana Terenzi. This is Borea, this one right here. I've been speaking a lot about this one recently. I featured it in that So Avant-Garde video of spring fragrances that were discounted recently. I really like this one because it's nutty, and it's also a fruity floral sweet fragrance with lots of nuttiness. It's got the coconuts, it's got almonds, pear, plum, vanilla, musk, tuberose, freesia, jasmine, rose, and oak moss. I would call this a fruity floral fragrance with a major nuttiness added to it. It's got lots of almonds and coconut, so it does have a little bit of a beachy, islandy vibe with the coconut in here, but lots of pears, lots of plums for the fruitiness, but it does eventually warm up, it becomes floral, and it becomes powdery as well. And then the thing about Tiziana Terenzi fragrances, they're all very, very intense and long lasting. So if you like that, definitely check out Borea from the house of Tiziana Terenzi. So that is another great fragrance that's nutty almondy. The next one I'm talking about is from the house of Nuit Nomade, and it's Jardin de Misfa, this one right here. Anybody know about this particular house? I discovered these fragrances over at Jovoy back in 2019, but last year I took a trip to ZGO Perfumery and I bought this particular one because I really enjoyed it for its sweet, fruity, warm, spicy features, you know, these accords. But this features dates, almonds, rose, saffron, cardamom, and nutmeg for one deliciously intoxicating smell. Reminds me of the Middle East. The saffron, the dates, the almonds, and the rose together. Of course, the cardamom and the nutmeg as well. This is spicy, kind of a fruity, floral, leather, aromatic experience that's to die for. Lots of dates and almonds in this one. Definitely reminds me of Middle Eastern desserts, or just, you know, sweets, and that you would like. One of my favorite things to do is like open up the dates, take the seed out, and put some almonds in it and pop it in my mouth. It kind of gives me the idea of that kind of a smell. Anyway, Nuit Nomade, Jardins de Misfa. Yum, yum fragrance. The next fragrance is also kind of gourmandish, but a floral gourmandish fragrance from the house of Panouge. This is Datura Amaretti. So Datura is a flower, and this has a major floral experience. This might lean a little feminine, but it is unisex targeted. This is a sweet, nutty, amber floral experience, so it does eventually get ambery and floral, and it features notes of almonds, datura flower, biscuit accord, cherries, ylang-ylang, musk, cedar, and mandarin. So there's definitely a cherry experience of fruitiness in here, but for me the almonds and the datura flower are what's really running the show. And then of course the biscuit accord comes in, kind of has this like a cookie-like experience thrown in there, and then, along with the cherries, and then of course the flowers. Really, really delicious fragrance, a wonderful smelling fragrance. This is Panouge Datura Amaretti. And amaretto, I think it's an almond liqueur, isn't it? I think it is, right? So does it have a kind of a booziness? Maybe very, very lightly, but I don't get much booziness with that particular fragrance. And then going back to the house of Tiziana Terenzi, it's Valorum, this one right here, for a fruity, tropical, nutty experience that's to die for, delicious and very, very long lasting. So I would call this a sweet, spicy, warm, fruity fragrance with passion fruit, almonds, white chocolate, musk, vanilla, tea, mandarin orange, ginger, lotus, tonka. So here's the thing, lots of almonds in this one for sure. Passion fruit is also very, very prominent, so it's got that fruitiness and then the almondiness, but this one has white chocolate for a creamy effect, tea for a cozy effect, lotus flower for this watery thing happening, lots of citruses, so it's actually very, very calming and cozy to wear this really delicious fragrance. It does remind me a little bit of Kirke from the house of Tiziana Terenzi, but this goes in a different direction. More nutty, and then of course a little white chocolatey, less woody, but very, very delicious. Valorum from the house of Tiziana Terenzi, that is definitely a fragrance you should check out. And then the last fragrance I'm talking about, remember this is not a ranked video, I'm going to the house of Paris Monte Carlo. This is Arancia de Sicilia. Do you guys know this one? They have a collection of 4 citrus fragrances here from this brand, Paris Monte Carlo. This one, compared to the others, goes into a kind of a gourmand direction. So it's a citrus gourmand. I would call this a sweet, citrusy, spicy, nutty fragrance with oranges, citruses, almonds, vanilla, cinnamon, cinnamon, amber, and coffee. You got lots of citruses. That's pretty dominating here. That's what's really running the show. These fragrances are definitely from the citrus collection, but they've thrown in the nuts, the almonds in here. They've got the vanilla and cinnamon, so it kind of takes on a kind of a nutty, cookie, sweet kind of a direction. But then they've also thrown in coffee, so you do have that kind of light bitterness in there along with the amber. But it's really, really delicious. It's a gourmand citrus fragrance that you can wear in the summertime. It won't get cloying, but it does definitely have those kind of gourmand features with the almonds and vanilla and coffee. So that is Arancia de Sicilia from the House of Paris Monte Carlo. And that's the last and final almond fragrance I'm talking about today for you guys. Do you like these fragrances? Have you tried them? Do you enjoy almonds in fragrances? Let me know, put a comment down. If there are any other almond fragrances that you would recommend for me to check out, and in case I haven't checked out, please do let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. Lastly, which notes are you interested in for me to cover? Which themed videos would you like me to do? Put a comment down so I can find out. Because there's definitely lots of notes out there. They're definitely not the more popular notes, so I want to find out what you guys want to hear first so I can, plan my videos out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, I'm going to feature a bonus fragrance, and I don't know the status of this particular fragrance. It's definitely discontinued here in the States, but I'm not 100% sure if it's still selling in Europe, France especially. This is from the House of Lancôme. This is Iris Dragée, this one right here. Do you guys know this one? This is all about a powdery, irisy take on almonds, like Jordan almonds, if that's like a candied Jordan almonds kind of an experience. So it's very vanillic, it's very powdery, iris fragrance featuring iris, almonds, vanilla, orris, sugar, white musk, ISOE super, orange blossom, and freesia. In the end, there is that light hint of love don't be shy under there, especially with the addition of orange blossom. But for me, it's a lot about iris and orris together, very powdery, and the almonds, and the sugar kind of creates this like candied almonds or covered with almonds covered with oranges kind of a thing, where it takes on the effect of candied, not candied, but Jordan almonds kind of an experience. But it's very, very delicious. Very delicious. It's a Nathalie Laurent created this particular fragrance. I absolutely love it. It was love at first sniff, and I bought it on my trip in Europe in 2019, one of my last trips, although I did 3 trips that year. But as soon as I smelled it, I loved it, and I bought it and brought it back. I've got a review about this particular fragrance. It does remind me of Iris Ganache a little bit from the House of Guerlain, that very, very hard to find fragrance. It's a fragrance on its own, but sadly I think it's discontinued. But it is a bonus fragrance. If you can find it, check it out. It smells really, really delicious. Lancôme Iris Dragée. That's the last fragrance for you guys. And then one more thing I should say, go catch that most comforting budget fragrances video, as it does feature some more budget oriented fragrances that are very cozy and comforting that feature almonds. Thanks so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Unbelievable, I left this one off. I can't believe I did that. Sometimes it's really, really hard to remember which fragrances feature which notes, and I completely passed or skipped over this particular fragrance, and I should never have done that. This is from a house that you probably do not know. I did a video on this house a year ago. They still haven't gotten any distribution or retail spaces or store here in the States, but definitely a house you guys need to look into. This is a fragrance called Almeria from a house called Lumari. This is it right here, and it does feature almonds, but this is a unique take on almonds. This is a warm, spicy, woody floral fragrance featuring almonds along with rose, tobacco, cinnamon, caramel, vanilla, musk, cedarwood, black pepper. So it's very, very spicy with lots of warm touches. The caramel, the vanilla adds this beautiful warmth to the fragrance with that kind of lightly dirty ashy tobacco there, and then the almonds with the gourmandish touches up front. but or up front is what I should say. But there's the rose here as well. But you know what? It's not necessarily full-on rosy experience. The rose is there. You definitely notice it. But it's all about the almonds there, and then also the woods in the base, the cedar wood and things like that. It's actually really, really delicious. It's sweet, but not overly sweet. It's gourmand, it's not overly gourmand. It's rosy, it's not overly rosy. And then tobacco, it's not necessarily a lot of tobacco either. It's just a beautiful, beautiful composition. My favorite from this house, because I think they did a great job. And the notes together work beautifully. I think you guys will really, really enjoy this. And again, as I said, I can't believe I forgot this one. I knew it was about almonds. I knew it was about caramel, but I completely forgot, but better late than never. So this is Lumari Almeria. Make sure to check out the house. The brand is sold at Javoy in Paris, and of course Javoy does ship internationally now, so definitely you're able to, you know, check these fragrances out. So it's, once again, it's Lumari's Almeria, one of my favorite fragrances from this house, featuring almonds.